Look, I believe in rules. As the county sheriff, my entire life is rules, procedure, and due process. So when my wife, Maria, and I moved into the pristine, cookie-cutter world of Whispering Pines Estates, I read the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC and RS, cover to cover. It was drier than month-old toast, but I figured it was good to know what I was signing up for. The trouble started not with a gnome or a pink flamingo, but with my county-issued SUV. It's a robust, dark blue Ford Explorer with a light bar, a radio antenna, and the subtle, yet official, Sheriff's Department seal on the doors. I don't take it to parades. It's my mobile office. One Tuesday, after a long shift dealing with a multi-car fender bender on the interstate, I pulled into my own driveway, exhausted. The SUV was splattered with mud and road grime. The next morning, as I was leaving for work, I found a piece of cardstock tucked under my wiper blade. Felt expensive. Notice of violation. Eyesore vehicle. Property. 744 Evergreen Terrace. Violation. CCR 22D, Section 4. No vehicle displaying commercial signage, exhibiting excessive filth, or deemed an aesthetic nuisance shall be parked in a driveway or street for more than a consecutive 2-hour period. Remediation required. Immediately remove the non-conforming vehicle from public view and ensure all future washings occur at a professional car wash facility to prevent unsightly runoff on community pavement. A fine of $75 will be assessed if not resolved within 24 hours. In service to community standards, Eleanor Vance, HOA President, Whispering Pines Estates. I showed it to Maria. An eyesore vehicle? She said, reading it over her coffee. David, you drove home from a crash scene. Does she want you to stop at a drive-through car wash at midnight? I chuckled. It's fine. I'll wash it this weekend. I didn't yet know that Eleanor Vance didn't deal in fine. She dealt in total, unquestioning compliance. I washed the SUV on Saturday. Spotless. Shiny. Problem solved, right? Wrong. The following Tuesday, I had a late meeting and didn't get home until after 10 p.m. I parked in my driveway as I always do. My garage is full of bikes, kayaks, and the detritus of a family with 2 active teenagers. The driveway is for cars. Wednesday morning, another notice. Notice of violation. Unauthorized overnight parking. Property. 744 Evergreen Terrace. Violation. CCR 22D, Section 2. To preserve the community's clean lines and prevent the appearance of overcrowding, no personal vehicles may be parked in driveways between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Fine assessed $100. Now I was annoyed. This was my home, my private property. I decided to engage the system. I emailed the HOA board, politely explaining that as a sheriff's deputy with variable shifts, overnight driveway parking was a necessity for me. I offered to provide my work schedule. The response from Eleanor was immediate and icy, copied to the entire board. Mr. Reyes, the rules of Whispering Pines Estates do not include exemptions for personal career choices. The covenant is clear. Garages are for vehicles. Driveways are for temporary parking. Your work schedule is not the concern of the Architectural Review Committee. The fine stands. Regards, Eleanor Vance. Personal career choices? Maria fumed. David, you're the sheriff. Deputy sheriff? I corrected, though the distinction was about to become very, very important. And that doesn't matter. To her, I'm just a rule breaker. That's when I started my own file. Not a folder. A digital case file. I labeled it Operation Whispering Tyrant. Eleanor had her enforcers. The most dedicated was her next-door neighbor, a retiree named Carl who wore a safari vest and carried a digital caliper to measure grass blade height. I saw him one afternoon, kneeling at the edge of my lawn, caliper in hand, a look of profound concentration on his face. He left without issuing a citation. My grass was, mercifully, within the mandated 2.5 to 3-inch range. The fines kept coming. My trash can lid was ajar by approximately 1.5 inches for 20 minutes. My daughter's basketball net was a permanent sports apparatus, because we hadn't taken it down within 60 seconds of her finishing a game. Each notice was more condescending than the last. I paid nothing. Instead, I responded to each violation with a formal, legalistic request for a hearing, citing specific bylaws about due process. I was tying them up in their own red tape. I was also becoming an expert on the CC and RS. And I started my reconnaissance. Eleanor Vance's house, Magnolia Manor, as the little placard on her mailbox called it, was a bastion of beige perfection, or so it seemed from the front. Every tyrant has a blind spot for their own hypocrisy. Eleanor's was her backyard. Using the county's publicly available GIS system and a few long lenses, I began to build a case. The Whispering Pines Code of Conduct was a masterpiece of selective enforcement. I discovered the pool. Eleanor had a massive, in-ground swimming pool. CCR 15F required a minimum 5-foot-high, solid, non-climbable fence around any body of water deeper than 18 inches. Her fence was a decorative wrought iron affair, barely 4 feet tall, with horizontal bars you could easily scale. A clear safety violation. The shed. Tucked behind her pool was a large, prefab tool shed. The ARC had never approved any shed plans, and CCR 11B limited outbuildings to 50 square feet. This one was pushing 120. The business. Eleanor wasn't just an HOA president. She was the CEO of Vance Vitality, a multi-level marketing scheme for essential oils. She regularly had delivery pallets dropped on her driveway and hosted oil parties, with dozens of cars clogging the street. CCR 4A explicitly forbade any activity constituting a trade or business, including regular client traffic or product distribution. The flag. She flew a gigantic, custom-made flag with the Whispering Pines Estates logo on it. CCR 18C stated only the U.S. state or official military flags were permitted. I had my target package, but I needed the perfect moment to strike. The moment came on a Friday. I just wrapped up a press conference about a major countywide drug bust. My unmarked SUV, which I sometimes used for administrative work, was in the shop. I drove the fully marked patrol car home. The light bar was off, but it was unmistakably a cop car. I parked in my driveway, went inside, and had dinner with my family. An hour later, my doorbell rang. It was Carl, the safari vest, looking unusually flustered. Behind him, on the sidewalk, stood Eleanor Vance, arms crossed, tapping her foot. "Mr. Reyes," Carl began, holding a clipboard like a shield. "That vehicle is a clear violation of CCR 22D, Section 4. Commercial signage. You must move it immediately." "It's my work vehicle, Carl," I said calmly. "It stays." Eleanor stepped forward, her voice a syrupy, venomous drawl. "We don't make exceptions, David. This isn't some back-alley neighborhood. This is Whispering Pines. That police car is intimidating and shatters our aesthetic of tranquil uniformity. It looks like there's been a crime. It's bad for morale." I looked from her to the patrol car and back to her. "Are you seriously ordering me to move a sheriff's department vehicle from my own property?" "I'm enforcing the rules you agreed to," she said, smiling a tight, cruel smile. "If it's not gone in 30 minutes, the fine will be $250, and we will escalate." I just nodded slowly. "Okay, you do what you have to do." I closed the door. My teenage son was staring at me, wide-eyed. "Dad, are you gonna move it?" "No, Mijo," I said, a slow grin spreading across my face. "I don't think I am." 35 minutes later, my doorbell rang again. This time it was 2 of my own deputies. Young guys, Officers Miller and Jenkins. They looked deeply, profoundly uncomfortable. "Evening, Sheriff," Miller said, refusing to make eye contact. "Evening, boys. What can I do for you?" Jenkins cleared his throat. "We got a call, complaint, about an illegally parked official vehicle at this address." I leaned against the doorframe. "You did, huh? Who made the complaint?" "A Mrs. Eleanor Vance. She said she's the HOA president and that you were being uncooperative." I could see Eleanor and Carl standing triumphantly at the end of my walkway, cell phones out, undoubtedly recording. I looked back at my deputies. So, what's the plan? You gonna write me a ticket? Impound the car. Miller almost choked. No, sir. Of course not. We just had to respond to the call. Understood. Well, you've responded. You can log it as civil matter. No police action required. Yes, sir. They both said in unison, visibly relieved. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night. As they walked back to their cruiser, I gave a little wave to Eleanor. Her face was a thundercloud of bewildered fury. The video of two deputies refusing to do her bidding was probably already uploading to the community Facebook page. The final notice arrived via certified mail the next day. It wasn't a fine. It was a summons to a compliance hearing in 3 days, threatening all available legal remedies, including a lien on my house. The community clubhouse was standing room only. The gossip mill had been working overtime. Eleanor sat at the head table, gavel in hand, flanked by the other 4 board members. She looked like a queen ready to pass judgment on a troublesome peasant. Now, she began, her voice echoing in the hushed room. We are here to address the chronic and willful violations of Mr. David Reyes at 744 Evergreen Terrace. She listed my sins: the eyesore vehicle, the overnight parking, the basketball net of doom. She saved the best for last. And most egregiously, she proclaimed, the unauthorized and intimidating parking of a police vehicle, and the subsequent misuse of authority to intimidate duly appointed HOA representatives. She looked at me expecting fear, contrition, something. I just sat there, calm. Mr. Reyes, she said, do you have anything to say for yourself before we vote on placing a lien on your property? I stood up. I was in a full suit and tie, not my usual weekend jeans. I placed my laptop on the table and connected it to the projector they used for PowerPoints. As a matter of fact, Eleanor, I do. I clicked a button. I'd like to discuss the concept of selective enforcement. A massive photo of her illegal pool fence filled the screen. CCR 15F. I began, my voice taking on the calm, authoritative tone I use in a courtroom. Mandates a 5-foot, non-climbable fence. Yours is 4-foot, wrought iron. A clear and present safety hazard. Click. A picture of her shed appeared, with county GIS imagery proving its size and date of installation. CCR 11B. Unapproved structure, grossly exceeding size limits. The room was dead silent. I could hear Eleanor's sharp intake of breath. Click. A photo of a Vance Vitality pallet on her driveway. Click. A screenshot from her business Facebook page. CCR 4A. Prohibition of home-based businesses. You are running a commercial enterprise with regular deliveries and client traffic. Click. A picture of her custom flag. CCR 18C. Unapproved flag. I let the images sink in. Then I delivered the coup de grace. You have harassed me and my family over petty, nonsensical rules while blatantly violating major covenants that exist for safety and community welfare. You filed a false police report against a law enforcement officer in an attempt to harass and intimidate him. As the duly elected sheriff of this county, I can tell you that we take false reports very, very seriously. The word sheriff landed in the room like a bomb. Eleanor's face went from red to white. The other board members were staring at her, then at me with dawning horror. The whispers in the room became a roar. A woman stood up. She fined me $200 for my sunflower garden. A man yelled. She made me repaint my entire house because the beige was too yellow. It was a rebellion. I looked at the board. I move for the immediate removal of Eleanor Vance as HOA president, and I submit this full dossier of evidence to the board and the community for their review. The vote wasn't even close. It was unanimous. Eleanor Vance was ousted on the spot. She gathered her things and scurried out, never to be seen at a meeting again. Epilogue. A new covenant. I was asked to join the board. I declined the presidency but accepted a seat. Our first order of business was what we called the reasonableness reformation. We repealed the overnight parking ban. We defined commercial vehicle in a way that excluded work trucks and, explicitly, emergency service vehicles. We created a 72-hour grace period for all minor violations. My patrol car is now a regular feature in my driveway. Sometimes, when I park it there, clean or dirty, I give a little nod to the spot where Eleanor once stood, defeated by the very rule of law she claimed to uphold. Turns out, it's hard to argue with the law when the law is standing in your driveway, waiting for you to make a mistake. And I'm a very, very patient man.